Many people are interested in how much a funeral costs, particularly if they're wanting to ensure that their affairs are as tidy as possible. I phoned a local funeral home recently and was told that a standard burial costs around $6,500 and a standard cremation around $5,500. And that figure includes the service, the death notices and the actual cremation or burial. And of course costs can range upwards from there depending on how big or how detailed a service you might want. Funeral bonds are specific investments designed to set aside money to cover funeral costs. Withdrawals cannot be made until your death, but this can remove some of the financial stress for your family and provide you with peace of mind that provision has been made for your funeral expenses. Provided you do not invest more than $11,750 per individual in a funeral bond, the investment will actually be exempt under both the income and the assets test for Centrelink. And this can help to boost your entitlement to age pension to improve your cash flow in retirement. Interest is added to the investment so that your balance will grow over time. The interest that's added is also tax-free to boost returns. And the total value can grow over the $11,750 initial limit and will still be fully exempt for Centrelink purposes, provided you didn't invest more than the allowable threshold originally. If you invested more than the threshold, the whole investment is assessable, so it's important to get that amount right. Upon your death, the investment can be redeemed to pay for funeral costs. And if the expenses are less than the balance of your funeral bond at that time, then the remainder is available to go back to your estate. It's not lost. The advantages of a funeral bond include investments up to $11,750 are exempt under the Centrelink Assets Test, which may give you an increase in age pension benefits. Investment bonuses are free of personal income tax and capital gains tax. You'll have peace of mind in knowing that your funeral expenses are safeguarded. And the ability to assign the funeral bond to a funeral director is yours if you wish. With the assistance of a funeral director, you can also pre-plan and prepay your funeral arrangements to suit your own requirements. You'll have protection against the increase in costs associated with funeral expenses and thereby alleviating a possible financial burden on your family. Where your funeral expenses are less than the value of the bond, any remainder is definitely returned to your estate. And this means that your estate will not lose any funds if your funeral costs are less than the value of the bond at that time. There are some disadvantages of a funeral bond, and they include that your funds will unable to be accessed by you during your lifetime. A benefit can only be paid when the initial owner of the funeral bond dies. And a termination fee may be applicable if you pass away within the very first few years of the investment. So before you consider a funeral bond, you should seek advice from an advisor who has considered your own personal circumstances. But hopefully you now understand a little more about how a funeral bond might work for you.